This episode is proudly supported by East Coast Beverages.
So my name's Samuel James Lentini. Really what's special about East Coast Beverages and about what we do is that we are vertically integrated. We grow, we squeeze, we bottle, we blend everything here on site. And not only that, I think what is really special is that all of the bars and restaurants and hospitality venues, they're able to come and visit our site. And once they come to our site, they see what our process is and they can actually see that the lemons, limes and oranges are all getting squeezed here, where we're not using a concentrate that comes from overseas. What is really special is that we invite people to come here. We have events here, and we're a family business, and we're able to really just work off the foundations that my grandfather built many years ago and continue a quality product range.
For more information, go to eastcoastbeverages.com.au.
Try not to think that you're a head chef straight out of college. I think you need to actually go through the motions. You need to learn. You need to learn as much as possible. You need to get diverse and different experience. And you need to get your head down and really work at it.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. After training in the kitchens of London, our guest brought his vision of a true British gastropub to Australia, creating a unique culinary experience that honours his roots while celebrating his new home as well. Michael Slade is the chef and co-owner of Northern Git in Thornbury, Melbourne. Michael, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's good to be here.
It's great to get you on the show. There's a lot to talk about, but I'm going to start by the fact that I love the name of your restaurant. It's a bit of a curveball. Tell us about how you landed on it.
Northern Git. So basically, a friend of mine, actually, when I first got here into Australia, James Wilkinson, he always used to call me Northern Git. And when it came around to a name for the restaurant, my wife was like, "Yep, I think that's the name for the restaurant." And yeah, it basically went from there.
What's the response been like to the name?
Most people take it with the fun that it's intended, and yeah, it does raise a few eyebrows. It's especially from back home, but yeah, I think overall it's worked quite well.
It's a great name. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there at Northern Git.
So basically, look, it's all about everything's made in-house. We age our own beef. We make all our own salamis and small goods. I say that, basically the only thing we don't make at work is cheese. Everything else is definitely made in-house, so all the pickling and fermenting and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we try to do as much as possible. I just don't have the time for cheese.
Well, that's fair enough. You've got a lot on your plate already. A lot of the media sort of refer to you as a sort of gastropub, British cuisine. Like, how do you describe your food? And is there a sort of a dish or two that exemplifies what you're encapsulating there?
Yeah, I suppose there's a few. There's a bit of a nod back home and my roots as well. So I'm very heavy into doing the butchery. So we age all our own beef. So that's all aged for around 80 to 100 days on the bone before we actually break it down. We obviously have a suet pastry pie with crushed peas on it. That's a nod back to Blighty. And then I really sort of say we do like a Med-Anglo type of cuisine. So there's a lot of Mediterranean stuff on the actual menu.
Well, you've had the venue for a decade now. Has it changed a lot from its inception?
Not really. I suppose it has over time. It's definitely changed. And what we do and how we started off, that's changed massively. But it's always pretty much remained true to how we started off. I always envisioned that we'd be a bit more pubby, but the food got in the way of the drinks.
Well, I want to explore sort of that in more detail shortly, but take us back to when you were young. Whereabouts did you grow up, and was food important in your family growing up?
Yeah, Look, I think we had a very large family, and Sunday roast was actually one of the big ones back home. So all the family used to gather at Nan's house, and yeah, we'd all get together and have a Sunday roast and stuff, and that's one of the things that we're quite well known for at the Git. But yeah, I grew up in Sorby Bridge, Halifax, little small town back there. But yeah.
Tell us about your fascination with food. Like, where did that begin?
Probably at a very young age. So I think I told the parents when I was about 6 or 7 I was going to become a chef. By the time I was 11, I was doing a milk round. And then I started working in the butchers on weekends and evenings when I was, 13 years old. So I've been around food for quite a while.
Take us back to that butcher when you were 13. That's a really young age to sort of have your hands on the tools. Do you have any stories of what that was like and what you learnt at that young age?
Well, so Tony Gledall, who I'm still in contact with today, he was the one that got me onto it. And, he was always, I remember one time when I first started, and he was like, right, on Saturday, you need to be at work at 8 o'clock. And I turned around to him and I was like, look, I'm sorry, I really can't get there at 8 o'clock. And he was thinking that I was lazy. And he said, look, this is what real work's about. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm still on the milk at that time. I can't get to work. So I was already up at 4 o'clock in the morning running around. So, yeah.
Well, what were the circumstances of sort of working at such a young age for you? Why were you sort of on milk runs and working in butchers at such a young age?
It was all about the money, I suppose, at the time, and it was just something that I did. I started off doing a paper round for my uncle. The milk round paid a little bit more, and then, and I enjoyed working in the butchers. That's where I learned how to make all the sausage and do all that sort of stuff, make pork pies, and actually do some of the cleaning and trimming and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was a good exposure.
Tell us about that progression from, being working as a butcher to a chef. What was the stepping stones of that for you?
For me, well, I actually started in a local pub kitchen when I was about 15. It was called the Griffin. So it was during sort of the high school time and just before I started college, because I went to Huddersfield Tech and went and did a hospitality and catering management course. So yeah, I was in the pub kitchens by the time I was 15. So did that pretty much all the way through college, with a slight stint at KFC because it paid better. And then off I was to London.
Tell us about that move to London. You did it at a young age and worked at a lot of venues before heading down under. What were the really sort of important venues and people that helped you carve your career there?
Well, look, I did start at Le Pont de la Tour, which was part of the Conran group at the time. And then I moved over to Coq d'Argent, which was also Conran, but there I met two Yorkshiremen, Kevin Schofield and Stephen Goodlad, and they were kind of my mentors, and they were the ones that really propelled me along with the cooking.
Do you have any stories of time spent with them and the influence they had?
Oh, mate, they've still got massive influence on me today. We're still in touch. Look, these two guys both worked at really, really, really good kitchens, so they worked for the Roux brothers at Waterside. And damn it, I've forgotten the other one. So they came from really good pedigree. Stephen had his own Michelin star at a restaurant. Basically Stephen was the one that actually found me a job over here in Australia as well. So he'd be like, give me one more year, give me one more year, give me one more year. So I followed him around a few different places. And then eventually he goes, right, I've got you a job. And I ended up in Australia in 2002, working at the Grand Hyatt.
Before we make that move to Australia, take us into the kitchens in the UK. It was some time ago and kitchens have changed a lot. But what was it like for you in those kitchens? What did you take from your time in the UK kitchens?
Oh, mate, we used to work very long hours, good camaraderie, but yeah, it was very serious as well. So, there was a lot going on, and we had large brigades. Because for lunches, you'd be doing maybe at Coq d'Argent or lunch, you'd be doing 200, 250 covers, and you'd be smacking those out within 2 hours. So, you had a large brigade there. There was probably anywhere between 14 and 16 guys just in the kitchen.
You mentioned that Stephen helped you get to Australia, but what was the lure for Australia? What made you decide to come out here?
I don't know. I suppose one was that my nan and granddad were actually meant to be £10 poms, and it never happened. So I don't know. I always had a bit of a fascination of wanting to come out here and check it out, and here I am still.
Well, tell us about that time in 2002. Were you surprised by Australia when you got here? What was it like for you, both sort of personally and in the kitchens?
Well, look, I started at the Grand Hyatt, so that was still quite a large brigade, but very different kind of culture. I remember the whole it's too easy, very Australian, and never really understood it, but but it was always, oh yeah, that's too easy, and yeah, it's not always too easy, is it? But it's just much more of a laid back attitude. So yeah, it was interesting. It was definitely different coming here. I remember the first time I experienced hot wind. I opened the door one day to go to work and was like, "What the fuck is that?" Closed it again. So yeah, it was definitely yeah.
Well, it was still more than a decade before Northern Git, your time in Melbourne. What's been some of the important sort of venues there through the Melbourne culinary scene that helped you sort of rise the ranks?
Well, I would say, look, I spent a long time I did 2 different stints with Adrian Richardson. He's fairly well known, and I ran the kitchen there for La Luna in 2-3 year periods. So that was a large chunk of that time. I did get into business with somebody else, and it probably didn't go as the way that I thought it was going to be. So that was 2 years in between. And then, then it was Northern Git.
Tell us about your time with Adrian Richardson. You said there were two different periods of time. What was he like to work with? Do you have any stories of the connection you made with him?
Oh, mate, me and Adrian just seem to have the same sort of philosophy about food and how it should be done and the way that you go about it. He definitely taught me an awful lot over that period. And yeah, obviously with all the TV work and all that sort of stuff, we was around a lot of that all the time. So I had a little bit of what would you say, like foresight into how all the TV stuff works and all that sort of stuff as well.
You mentioned near the top of the show that at the heart of what you do is doing everything from scratch apart from cheese. But what are the challenges you sort of involved in that, especially with modern day chefs and the way that the industry has changed with not so much being done from scratch in many restaurants? Tell us your approach and why is it so important?
I just think it just gives you a better connection with the stuff that you're producing. So, look, for all the guys that work with me, they get taken through all the basics. So, they're not really learning very much at culinary school anymore. There's 10 people standing around one chicken breast. I don't know how they learn anything. How they learn anything like that, but obviously in the kitchen with me, they get that chance to work with all those different things and learn all those techniques. So that's a really important part of it.
At the core of what you do are small goods and aging meat as well. Take us through the process of perhaps one of your small goods and what it takes to end up with that final product that ends up on the plate.
Oh, well, that's the thing, isn't it? Look, I've actually got a dry curing room for the salamis and stuff at work, so it gives me the ability to make small goods all year round. I don't just have to wait for the cold season and then wait for ages. It speeds up the process. But, you start with a whole pig. You've got to break it down into all its different primals and stuff. Then you've got to make the salami, get it all piped, minced, and then put in the curing room, get the humidity out of it. And the whole process probably takes anywhere from what, 2 to 3 months before you end up with the final product.
Have you had any sort of moments of tragedy or real triumph where you kind of it got you on the right track with small goods?
I've definitely had tragedies before. So before the curing room, you used to have everything out in the open, and you tried to make stuff get sealed. But all it takes is one little infestation, and you lose a couple of legs, and you've just put 9 to 10 months worth of work into something, and all of a sudden it's see you later. So yeah. That can be quite devastating. But the product at the end of it speaks for itself.
What sort of impact do you think it has on sort of your staff and the clientele, sort of the lengths that you go to get the food on the plates, particularly with the aging of the meat and the small goods? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it makes a massive difference, and people can tell. People aren't stupid; they can tell if something's been done well, if it's been looked after, and it's right. So, and that's why we've been around for it's almost 11 years now. In fact, it's over 11 years. So that's why we've been around and managed to stay as strong as we've been.
Take us through that period of finding the site and the idea. What was that period of time like for you? Was it hard to sort of find a site to execute the sort of vision of Northern Git?
Well, crazily enough, the site where Northern Git is right now, it used to be an old pizza pasta joint. And we probably looked at that building maybe, 6-7 years before Northern Git even happened. And I remember walking into that building and saying to Corinne, this could be a really great space for a restaurant. And then it just so happened we were looking for spaces, and I actually saw the tiles on the floor. They were like blue and black, like old slate tiles. And it was just one of the pictures about this restaurant. And I saw it while we were looking through a site, and I was like, that's the Colosseum. That's up for sale. So yeah, we kind of jumped at it and got on with it, and it was a full reno. So we literally tore the place apart and then rebuilt it. So that was a crazy period of time.
When you finally got the doors open, what was the acceptance like? Was it a challenge at first, or did you sort of hit the ground running with the Northern Git?
We were very fortunate. We hit the ground running. Look, we opened the doors. We finished building and then opened the doors 3 days later. So we've been through a massive roller coaster. And I started with only me and one other person in the kitchen, Leanna. We started with 2 of us. Within a couple of weeks, we were doing 80 covers on a Friday and a Saturday, and there's just 2 of us and washing dishes at the end of service. And we were like, this is way too much. And then in quick succession, we ended up with probably, a squad of 5 or 6 people within the space of, 3-4 months.
You mentioned at the core the Northern Git is still the same, but you mentioned it has also changed quite a lot. Tell us about what the changes are that have occurred over the last sort of decade.
Well, look, we started with a very simple basic menu that only 2 people that we could only just get out, and it had to be fast and it had to be quick, because I say it was a short menu, but there was still probably 13, 14 dishes on the menu at the time, maybe a few more actually. I've still got a copy of the actual first menu we did put to one side. But over time, we've refined it. We've increased the type of food that we're doing. It's become a little bit more, how do you put it? Not just refined, but a little bit more steps go into it. And but that's all been a natural progression. So, we didn't start out with a charcuterie menu. That came once we found our feet.
Yeah. You mentioned your partner, Corinne. What's Tell us about the working relationship there. What's the many restaurants are run by couples or duos across Australia, but how do you guys work together?
Most of the time we're pretty good. As long as she stays away from the pass and I stay away from the bar, we get on quite well. No, look, we've got, we've got a very good working relationship. She's just as passionate about the business as I am. She puts a lot into all the drink menus and all that sort of stuff, the stuff that I can't be bothered with. So it's a pretty symbiotic relationship in how the restaurant runs.
Tell us a little bit about your clientele. A decade is amazing for any restaurant. You must have some staunch regulars that you've seen families grow up over the last sort of decade. Is there quite a strong sort of clientele that are coming back all the time?
We've got customers that have been with us for literally the last decade. Yes, we've seen the kids grow up from babies, or even from teenagers to getting married. So yeah, we've got a pretty close connection with a lot of the regulars. Yeah.
What's that like for you? Sort of being part of the community like that. What sort of impact does it have on you and the offering?
Look, it's just great. It's good that, you've got these people that can come in. They kind of know you. It's not just like, oh, you're just another face. It's not like that. We've formed relationships over the years, so that's been really good. It's your second family, basically.
The last decade, there's been many challenges for many in hospitality. What's the ride been like for you in the restaurant? Has it been pretty stable throughout, or has there been some sort of blips on the radar for you?
Look, I'd say, obviously the big blip was COVID. Let's not forget that one. That really killed hospitality, and it was a pretty hard time to get through. I mean, we were lucky that I managed to keep hold. So a lot of the guys working for me, or two or three of the guys that were working for me, were international students, and the government wasn't coming forward and doing anything for them. So we did the takeaway thing, but nobody's ordering $70 and $80 steaks to take out, really. But we kept it going, and it helped us in the fact that, we kept the guys with an income. But also, when we jumped in and out of the lockdowns, we were able to really capitalize on that and get going straight away. We didn't have to find a team to get going, and then so yeah, but it was a crazy period. You think you're going to do Valentine's Day, then Valentine's Day gets cancelled. So you've got all this food in, boom, you're back to lockdown. Yeah, it was crazy, but it was everybody in the industry went through it. So yeah, we came out the other side.
You're very hands-on in the kitchen. Give us a sense of the sort of average day for you at the Git.
Average day. Look, you probably start 9, 10 o'clock, depending on the day. Look, it's all about the preparation. So, and depending on what we've going on, we've got the sauces and stocks on the go. You've got the butchery to do, all the other general prep jobs. And the way that with the kitchen's structured is that everybody can help each other out. So we don't just have a section where it's like, this is your section, you just get on with that prep. Everybody actually gets involved and everybody works on the prep. So it's not just this is your section, get on with it. It's more we all work around each other to ensure that everything happens.
Melbourne has had its challenges more than many cities off the back of COVID and people working from home. But how are you seeing things now? What's the economy looking like for you and the restaurant? Is it positive looking sort of over the next year or two for you?
It's been a challenge, and I think you'll see it in most hospitality businesses, especially with the way that the interest rates and all that stuff are at the moment. People don't have as much free cash to spend, so they're paying down their mortgages. They're not going out as often. Instead of going out maybe 2 or 3 nights a week, they now go out once every couple of weeks. That's been tighter, but the wife made me do something that I never wanted to do, and that was get on Instagram. So that's actually that. I say unfortunately, but fortunately, it's made a difference. It's keeping us out there, and it's keeping us in front of people.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you're very entertaining on social media and sort of reveal sort of what goes on in the kitchen there. What's it like for you, sort of creating that sort of stuff now that you've sort of been doing it for a little while?
Look, it's pretty intense when we do that filming. So obviously, I don't know my way around a camera. So we've got somebody who does. we've got somebody who does all the editing and all that sort of stuff. Able Studios, they really sort of point me in directions, and then I go, all right, no, but can we do this? And it's pretty intense actually trying to get all that stuff filmed. Because you see 30 seconds of something that's probably taken a good 3-4 hours. So it's not, it's interesting, but it's pretty fast paced when we do the filming. But yeah, I get to have a little bit of fun with it as well. So I think that's important.
You mentioned the suet pie a bit earlier. Tell us about how you make that, or make yours.
So making the actual pies themselves. So look, and this is the whole part of the stuff that we do at the Git. So I get an Argentina beef in, which is basically from the scotch down to the rump. It's got the porterhouse and the fillet on there. But we get a lot of trim, and we get what we call suet. So the suet fat we use in the pies, and then the trim that we can't actually use for the primal steaks, that goes into the pie mix. So we end up with the really nice, tasty pies. I mean, once it's been aged for 12 weeks, like, you've got some really good, tasty meat there. So yeah, we're all about trying to use as much of an animal as possible. I mean, obviously we get the bones from that goes into the stocks to make the sauce. So yeah.
What sort of advice would you have for a young chef coming through the ranks at the moment that's looking to have longevity and create a real identity like you have in the industry?
I think try not to think that you're a head chef straight out of college. I think you need to actually go through the motions. You need to learn. You need to learn as much as possible. You need to get diverse and different experience, and you need to get your head down and really work at it. It's not look. It's a hard industry. Nobody's saying it's an easy industry. And look, the industry has changed massively. You know, people aren't working 60 and 70-hour weeks anymore. You know, they get paid for the 40 hours, and then they get paid their overtime. That when I was going up through the ranks was, you didn't even think about that sort of stuff. So I think it's got a lot better for younger people coming up through the ranks today. But I think they really need to make sure that they've got their head down and they're really focusing on what they're doing.
Yeah, that's some good advice. You've created an incredible product there in North Melbourne. What do you love about what you do?
What do I love about what I do? It's look, I don't know. It's in you. I think it's one of those things. It's like, I really enjoy being in the kitchen. I enjoy doing all that sort of stuff. I'm getting a bit older now. I think I've still got a good few years in me, but I'm going to have to think, I'm starting to think about what am I going to do after cooking, you know? So at the moment, I've got some product that I've got to send away and test in, and I'm going to look at what I might be able to do, which keeps me around food, but maybe not having to do the crazy hours that I do.
We'll look forward to seeing what that is. And Michael, an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today to hear a part of your story. Please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Stay safe and be well.